Hi and welcome to this edition of PAX Talks. We are in December. It is Christmas time. Merry Christmas if I haven't told you already. My Lord, I love Christmas time. What a magical time to celebrate the birth of my Savior, Jesus Christ. What a privilege. What a privilege to have Christmas. One of the things that comes up around Christmas, let's jump right into it, is this idea of something called seasonal affective disorder. The idea or the topic, I guess, of this month's PAX talk is that seasonal affective disorder, or SAD as it's known, SAD as an acronym, is a scam. And here's why it's a scam. It's not that it doesn't exist necessarily. It's that it's not like a disease really, or even totally a disorder. The issue is that there are a number of behavioral modifications and lifestyle choices that we make in the month of December, in November, December, January, around the holiday time, the Christmas and New Year's, Thanksgiving time, that have repercussions. I mean, cause and effect, right? We have some things that cause a certain effect to take place. And it's not so much that you have a disease or you have some kind of condition that makes you, defective or makes you, a diagnosed patient. It's way more that they told me I had to drink out of this and rep the swag. So there you go. Hopefully that will suffice. But it's just that you take these steps, these behavioral changes that most of us only see in the winter. And what happens is there's effects from that, and in keeping with that, we don't like the effects, we don't like the outcomes of our decisions, and in keeping with that, we end up with what they've so aptly named SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. Here's the thing about SAD, though. SAD is not seasonal affective disorder. Again, it's not a condition or a disease that you're defective so you have it. Right? Like I don't make agreement with that. I don't see that as an identity for me or for you. But the reality is that 10 million Americans struggle every year, approximately, and those are just the people that actually get diagnosed with it. And I guarantee you, there's a lot more. They say it could be as many as 30 million people in America, and these are just Americans, 30 million Americans that struggle with SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. Interestingly, though, most of them, oddly enough, are between 18 and 30 years old. So it actually targets a relatively younger crowd, which I think is interesting. Here's a super interesting fact, though. Did you know that 4 out of every 5 people that suffer from seasonal affective disorder, they're women? They're girls, they're ladies, they're women. And I think that's super interesting. When we look at it from a hormonal perspective, it makes a lot of sense the more you learn about people's physiology that results in this make-believe condition called SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. Now, here, quick, run through the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder. As a diagnosis: oversleeping, what they call hypersomnia, to sound impressive, fatigue, carb craving, increased weight or weight gain, decreased libido or sex drive, lethargy, depressive behavior like just not caring or being aroused by the things that you're normally aroused by, sexual and otherwise. And I could just mean like you enjoy doing puzzles or painting or riding your motorcycle, and now all of a sudden you don't really care to. That's depressive behavior. So that's enough for what is seasonal affective disorder. It basically means you feel like crap during the winter. I'm not trying to over romanticize it. Literally means you feel like crap during the winter. And a lot of us feel like crap during the winter, but the FDA, the CDC, Big Pharma, AMA, American Medical Association, they want to tell you that, well, you need to go to your doctor, you need to be diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder. Again, it's so cute that they came up with a little acronym that actually is SAD. But at the end of the day, again, the reason I say that SAD is a scam is that the chances are you don't actually have anything that would classify you as a disease. It's not like you have, I mean, because what if you don't struggle normally with depression? What if you don't struggle normally with any kind of bipolar or depression or anything manic or anything of that nature, but then you feel crappy and kind of worn down and you sleep too much and you gain weight and your libido goes out the window and you eat too much sugar and you're lethargic throughout the winter. It's not because you have a disease. No, 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 no. It's the fact that there's a couple things at play here, and let's get into them. And number one, and the most important one, is that you are designed to go to sleep shortly after the sun goes down and not wake up until the sun comes up. And in keeping with that, the idea there is that you have a certain amount of light and certain wavelengths, certain colors of light that are coming into your eye. They're going into your eye. They're going to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, then to something called the PVN, and then they're ultimately going to the pineal gland. And they're going to the pineal gland, that's producing melatonin for you. And you know what melatonin does. Everybody knows it at this point. Melatonin makes you sleepy. It makes you know it's time to go to bed. So when you deal with melatonin production, that's the only way your body produces it. You get certain colors from the sun that go into your brain, and then it starts to stimulate that suprachiasmatic nucleus to the PVN, and then on ultimately to the pineal gland to produce that melatonin. But the reality is that most of us, if you're, and I mean, I'm guilty as well, most of us are going to work literally in the dark, and we're coming home in the dark. And at no point are we participating whatsoever with the sunrise or the sunset, and we're not even getting the little bit of sunshine you get walking to your car in the morning or in the afternoon. We literally spend all day in the dark, and then the rest of the day is spent under these absolutely horrific, terrible incandescent or LED or fluorescent lights and all these synthetic types of light. And the reality is that if you're not getting that stimulation into your brain, in through your eyeballs, you're not stimulating the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is a problem. Now, here's the workaround. Pretty cool stuff. Here's the workaround. You can cheat the system. You really can. And here's why. You can cheat the system because let me say this. Let's go back to how you could actually just do it right and not cheat the system. Number one, you could get up at the sun and go to sleep at the sun. Yeah, I know. But the problem is that I have to be at work at 8 and I don't get off till 6, right? I mean, that's just my job. It's when the company opens, it's when the company closes. So you don't get a whole lot of control over when you get to come and when you get to go. Totally get it. So that doesn't work for us. But there's still going to be consequences to that if that's what you're going to do. But the reality is that you can beat the system. I'll tell you how to beat the system. You can use something. I'm going to pull it up on my phone here so you can see it, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go right here. Let's go over to Amazon.com and let's look up red light therapy. Red light therapy, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually have light bulbs produce that same wavelength of color, that same amount of color, and have it shoot out of the light bulb into our eyes and see if I can get the Wi-Fi to work here. Come on, drum roll, please. And if we can get that same amount of light to go into our eyeballs, then it's going to produce the same effect that it normally would. Wouldn't you know that we are literally spinning and Amazon is not having it right in the middle of this video. So never mind, but you can go to Amazon yourself and you can type in red light therapy. You will see that there are all kinds of options. Here's the deal. Let me teach you how to get a good one. And then I'll talk about the best one, which we're not going to get on Amazon. You can go and look for something that's going to have, and this is careful, listen carefully, somewhere between 630 and 660, 630 and 660 nanometers of light. That is the color red. 630 to 660 nanometers of light. That is the color red. And then you're also going to want something that has got about 850 nanometers, which is infrared. And red and infrared are both really tremendously going to help. Infrared is really going to help, and you'd be amazed how much it helps with inflammation, pain, those sorts of things. But nonetheless, 650 and 850. And again, plus or minus a little bit is okay, but in that area. Here's the reality. I want you to set that over near you as you read yourself to sleep or do whatever it is you do. A lot of them come with great timers, so you can set it up, put it on like a 20, 30-minute timer, go to sleep while it's shining, and then it'll just go off while you're sleeping. And then you don't have to fool with it anymore. That's amazing. That's really cool. And you'd be amazed. I was looking at on Facebook here, or excuse me, on YouTube here, and it was amazing that there were a lot of them on here, like 50, 60 bucks. Some of them, go up to 100, whatever. If you want to spend a little bit more money and you want the gold standard of exactly the temperature of light you need, at exactly the right wattage, at exactly the right temperature, at all these things, and you want the best stuff on the market, I'm a huge fan, and I believe the biggest, best product on the market is a product called Mito Red. Mito Red, M-I-T-O, Mito stands for mitochondria, right? The energy powerhouse thing, part of your cell. And that's what this particular light strain, that's what it stimulates. It stimulates the mitochondria, and then all the good stuff, without giving you a big boring science lesson, ends up with you sleeping better and getting back into your circadian rhythm. All right, that's what we're after. And Mito Red, if you go to Mito Red, I think it's mitored.com, Google Mito Red, you'll get exactly what you need. There's a couple of options for different sizes and whatever. Totally up to you. You can research that and figure out what you want to do, but you can get a little bit cheaper on Amazon. But Mito Red is make no mistake about it, is a superior product to anything you'll find on Amazon. And some of them, stuff on Amazon, 150 bucks. Mito Red is going to be 200 bucks, but hey, 50 extra bucks, you get a much superior product. I have a friend of mine who has a deal with Mito Red, and he gives out his discount code for Mito Red, and it's Dr. Jockers, and it gives you 5% off the product. I mean, hey, why not? It's DRJOCKERS, Dr. Jockers, Dr. Jockers. Amazing guy, amazing website, tons of information, even on seasonal affective disorder. If you want to go check out his stuff as well. Moving on to number two. Number two, I love these effects. I got to figure all these effects out. This is fantastic. I got the thumbs up effect so far. And then peace out gives me balloons for some reason. I don't know, peace, love, and balloons. Anyways, I digress. Number two, gut dysbiosis. Gut dysbiosis really attacks us in the winter. And dysbiosis it literally means in Latin, problem with bacteria. There's bacterial overgrowth in our gut. And the problem is that down here on the right side, my right side, down at the bottom, there's a little turn there. And in that turn, there's an enzyme that takes one of the amino acids that you break down from protein in the stomach and turns it into something called serotonin. And serotonin is what makes our brains happy and calm. If you have a serotonin problem, your medical doctor is probably going to prescribe for you a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. You know them as antidepressants, right? Things like Wellbutrin and Abilify and whatever else that's out there. And the problem is that you're having problems with serotonin. But the reality is that if you have gut dysbiosis, then it downregulates, meaning that it inhibits, it pushes down your ability to produce serotonin. This is a major problem, a major, huge problem. And guess what? The number one thing you can eat is to get gut dysbiosis? Sugar. Sugar feeds bacteria like absolute racing fuel. Nothing feeds bacterial overgrowth like sugar. There's just nothing on the planet. If you couldn't even produce a superfood chemically in a lab that would grow bacteria faster than sugar. Just good old-fashioned sugar will do it. Well, what kind of foods do we tend to consume a whole lot more of during the holiday season? Right. I remember I was in Italy a few years ago visiting a great dear friend of mine, Dr. Laraschi, and he practices there in Milan. And his mother was an American, went over there to study abroad, fell in love with his dad, never left. So he technically has an American passport on behalf of his mother and an Italian passport on behalf of his father. So he's a dual citizen. But he says he called me and he says, come to Italy for Thanksgiving. I would love to have a traditional Thanksgiving meal, American Thanksgiving meal, obviously, because America's the only country in the world that does Thanksgiving. And he asked me to come and my wife and come share Thanksgiving with him because he technically is an American. So we went over there. We got all the stuff we needed to make. And I remember, I'll never forget, it was so funny. We were making sweet potato casserole. And we were having to translate on Google all of the, like kilograms and all that kind of stuff into so many cups and ounces and things and milliliters and so forth. And it was hysterical because we calculated, we tried to tell him how many cups of sugar we would put in how many kilograms or whatever of sugar that would be. And he said, in his words, not mine, he said, "You got to be shitting me." Was again his words, not mine, but he just couldn't get over. Sorry for the French, or in this case the Italian, but he couldn't get over how much sugar was about to go into this casserole. He just looked like he had seen a ghost. He could not fathom how we were about to eat this much sugar, and it was like, and of course we Americans, we didn't think anything about it. It was just like, buddy, this is how you make that. And you eat that kind of stuff typically in the winter months. You eat it around Thanksgiving and New Year's and Christmas and more of those type months. And you end up creating gut dysbiosis. It's a major issue. So you have got to be careful with the sugar. Now, if you want to eat that kind of stuff, at least a little bit, and I get it, nostalgia, Grammys, whatever, sweet potato pie or whatever, you just have to have it. It just wouldn't be Christmas without it. I get it. Calm down. I get it. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying pick and choose, first of all. And number two, I want you to consider really tripling or quadrupling your probiotic intake during these winter months, because that's going to help ward off that gut dysbiosis. All right, I want you to consider tripling or quadrupling that slowly over the course of a couple of days, as to not upset your stomach. But I hope you will consider massively upping your probiotic intake as we go through the winter months. Now, last but not least, to get you back into physiological health so that you don't have this make-believe condition, seasonal affective disorder. Last but not least, you need vitamin D. Here's why you need vitamin D. The Lord did not mess up. God makes no mistakes. He didn't mess up when he put the sun to go down early and all this kind of stuff in the winter. No. Here's the reality is vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. And in keeping with it being a fat-soluble vitamin, it is something you can store. Water-soluble vitamins, you cannot store them, right? Like vitamin C and the B vitamins. But A, D, E, and K, those are the fat-soluble ones. So you can store those. You can store those in the fat molecules of your body. Now, you should go into the winter with massive, massive stores of vitamin D because you've been a good boy or a good girl and got tons of sun exposure during the summer and during the fall and the spring and so forth. Enough to carry you throughout the winter. But how many of us work indoors? How many of us work underneath fluorescent lights? And the most sun exposure we get is walking from the door of the office to the car. But there's very little sun exposure. Most of us are horrifically vitamin D deficient. And we go into, it'd be kind of like if you go into the winter with no savings and you can't work all winter, you're going to go broke. Well, that's exactly what happens with vitamin D stores for most people. You go into the winter, no stores, and there is none because the sun is tucking away and hibernating, and you don't have any savings, any vitamin D savings to go through the winter. And it's really, 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 really sad. And in keeping with that, I'm going to pull something up that I want to give you in keeping with vitamin D. Here's the problem with, or let me say this about vitamin D, and then I'll give you one of the caveats of vitamin D. Number one, I want you to take 1,000 IUs, 1,000 international units, IUs, 1,000 international units of vitamin D per 25 pounds of body weight. All right, 1,000. So if you weigh 100 pounds, take 4,000 IUs of body weight. If you are a person that normally struggles with depression, if you struggle more, especially in the winter, but if you're just generally a person that struggles more, here's what I want you to do. And the research supports me in this. Don't call me crazy. I want you to take 100,000 international units, 100,000 IUs. Get the 10,000 capsules. Don't be doing this with like the 1,000s and taking 100 of them a day. Good Lord. Take the 10s, take 10 10s, take them throughout the day. Take 100,000 IUs every day for a week. That can help build stores. In some severe cases, you may have to do it for 2. That can help build stores of vitamin D. And that can help jumpstart you to make you last throughout the winter. Now, after that, though, I want you to still take 1,000 IUs per 25 pounds of body weight. So I weigh about 200 pounds, right around in there. So for me, 8,000 IUs a day. Now, you say that's absolutely ludicrous. Well, hold on. Because the reality is in the middle of the summer in Georgia, where I live, in Northwest Georgia, I've looked it up. You can produce 15 to 20 minutes of short and t-shirt exposure. Or I'm sorry, this was short and no shirt exposure. Like if I were outside, 15 to 20 minutes between 11 and 1 in the middle of the day gives me 20,000 IUs from the sun. 15 minutes, 20,000 IUs. So if I tell you I'm taking 8,000 a day, I know that the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is 400 IUs, but that's just enough to keep you from getting rickets, which is a bone softening and deforming disease. 400, that's kind of like poverty level. Like that's not ideal money. That's poverty level, right? 400 IUs will keep you from rickets, but it's not ideal levels of vitamin D. Here's the only other thing. One last thing about vitamin D before we start wrapping up. There are a bunch of types of vitamin D, of magnesium. And you say, why did you just go from vitamin D to magnesium? Because did you know that vitamin D is not absorbable in the absence of magnesium? Look it up. Google it. Get on Dr. Google. You cannot absorb vitamin D in the absence of magnesium. So, when you take your vitamin D, I want you to take some magnesium with it. And I'd like to see you get in at least about 150 milligrams, if not up to 300 milligrams of magnesium. Now, let me give you this, though. Here's the deal. I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My top favorite 7 types of magnesium, because there's a lot of types, and what I use them for. And in this case, and any of them will work quite well, but I'm going to give you my favorite one to use in regards to seasonal affective disorder. Does that make sense? They all have different uses, and they all help you absorb vitamin D. However, there's one that stands out above the rest for seasonal affective disorder. I'm going to go through them because I know that you are with pen and paper and you are writing down. So if you're taking notes, write this down. If you're not taking notes, write this down. Magnesium glycinate. That's Glycinate. Glycinate. Magnesium glycinate. Sleep. Take magnesium glycinate to sleep. I went through sleep last time on the last PAX talk, and we talked about glycine and glycinate and all the things for sleep. And if you want that, we bundled that up at the front desk so you can get that easy. If you want it, leave a note, a message, a comment, or call the office and we'll get that for you. Magnesium malate, right? Those are the people that have chronic muscle spasms and tight muscles and sore muscles. And if you have all that, any kind of muscle concern, you want to use magnesium malate, M-A-L-A-T-E. Magnesium threonate, T-H-R-E-O. N-A-T-E, T-H-R-E-O-N-A-T-E, threonate, it's pronounced. Magnesium threonate helps with cognition, brain fog, memory, cognition, thinking clearly, being clear-headed, and ding, 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 my favorite magnesium when it comes to seasonal affective disorder. So this is the one we're going to put a big star by on your notepad in regards to we're talking about seasonal affective disorder. Now, magnesium taurate. Now, taurate is spelled T-A-U-R-A-T-E. T-A-U-R-A-T-E. Magnesium taurate is specifically the type of magnesium that the heart uses to stay in rhythm. To keep the blood pressure and the pulse and the rhythm and all that stuff. To keep everything like it should be, the magnesium that's responsible for that is magnesium taurate. Now, digestion, if you're having digestive issues, and I'm not going to give you the breakdown on how to use each one of these. Contact me directly if you need that, but nonetheless, just so you know which ones you can use. Magnesium chloride, C-H-L-O-R-I-D-E, chloride, all right, magnesium chloride, that's digestion. Constipation, you want to get things moving, and you don't want to use a stool softener, which is going to dehydrate your gut, like seriously dehydrate your gut. right? Because all it's going to do is move that moisture from the gut wall into the poop to move it through, but now you have a dehydrated gut. If you want a better way, magnesium citrate, citrate. Citrate sounds like a cheer from high school. Magnesium citrate for constipation. Now, last but not least, if you just want to chill out and relax, if you just need a little bit of a chill pill, magnesium sulfate, SULFATE, magnesium sulfate. That's your chill pill magnesium. So I strongly recommend that you take some magnesium. Specifically, if we're going to talk about seasonal affective disorder, we need to take magnesium. Which one was it? 3 and 8. Magnesium 3 and 8. But everybody always asks me what kind of magnesium to use for what, so I wanted to put it here and record it onto a PAX talk. They said it couldn't be done, ladies and gentlemen. They told me there's no way, Dr. Paxton, that you could give a PAX talk in under 30 minutes. I am closing the notebook, both literally and figuratively, because it is 25 minutes into this bad boy, and I have done my job. I am trying to figure out a way next month when we do this, as we continue to try to do it virtually, because the reality is we got so many people that have been asking that don't live here, like, hey, how can I get in on that? So we're trying to do it virtually as well. The problem I don't like about it is like there's no interaction. So I'm thinking maybe next time we'll do it as a Zoom call or something like that, because I want you to talk to me. I want you to give me feedback. A lot of you know I grew up a Pentecostal pastor's son, so maybe an amen or a hallelujah, something like that, or a come on somebody or something to keep me going as I do this for half an hour. But then also I want to know what questions you have. It's important to me to know that I'm giving you the information that you actually want, because I don't need this information. I already have it. I'm trying to give it to you. So if you need anything, I am 100% here for you. I want to know what other topics you want to hear. I want to know what other information you got, what part of that wasn't clear, didn't make sense, made sense in my head, but didn't make sense in yours. I want to know about it. So if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below, right? There's a place for comments below. If you're watching this on Facebook, there's a place for comments below. If you need anything, you can email me at Dr. Paxton at PAXFamilyChiro.com. Dr. Paxton at PAXFamilyChiro.com. You can email me there. If you need us directly, call the office, 706-935-3338. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the office, around, or on the next PAX Talk. Merry Christmas. I will see you next year. God bless you.